Good evening, good evening. How's everybody doing this wonderful, wonderful, and amazing evening? I am he is I am forever and will always be your friend, your brother, your neighbor, that great good God to know. I am him, Coach J Hart. This is Christ Connections and Conversation, well, I guess we say part four or Mind of a Man, where the young ladies, Coach E and Elder Kim, allow me to have one small segment with just men talking about men matters, men issues, things that's on men's mind. This is counting the cost of manhood in the African American community. This is just something, man, something that was placed on Coach E and not hard to do, something that we've been dealing with as black men with everything that's going on in the community and going on in this world. We really want to see how men are thinking about certain things. And we're not going to get political or anything like that on this episode or anything like that, but we really just want to have a couple of questions just to see where the mind of men are pertaining to certain issues that come up in men's life. So I am not going to prolong this show. We might have another guest coming on. He is having technical difficulties, but we're going to ride on out with this show. I'm going to allow these gentlemen to introduce themselves. First, starting with great guy. I just got a chance to know my friend Mr. Marcus. Will go first. Then Mr. Adam. I just met him last week. So I'm going to let him go second, and then this other guy over here, I'll let this character go last because he get on my nerves. But I'm gonna let Brian wrap it up, and then we're gonna go ahead on to some questions, man. So Marcus, take it away.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Marcus Norman. I'm the host of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. It airs on Mondays and Tuesdays on all social media platforms: YouTube, Facebook, iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Play. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you fine gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to speak and come on again and share and provide insight and foresight in any way I can. Happy to help. Thank you for having me.
All right, I'm Adam China in Abbeville, South Carolina. Pastor Flat Rock AME Church here in Abbeville, and this is my first time on the podcast, and I'm grateful, and I want to thank you all so much for the opportunity. I have a background also in media as a radio announcer and also a television videographer and special correspondent. So this is kind of back to familiar ground for me. So I'm grateful for the opportunity. And great to be with you, brothers.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Byers here in Birmingham, Alabama. Happy to be a return guest and being able to meet these great men, Marcus, Adam, and minus Coach Jay. But extremely happy to be a part of this great coming together. And I'm a dad here in Birmingham, Alabama. There's nothing much to me, nothing to write home to mom about, but I'm in the funeral service industry and just love to serve. So I'm looking forward to putting our minds together and getting the message out there. And again, thank you for the opportunity, Coach Jay and Madam Ebony.
There you go. There you go. The governor, Richard. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, man.
How you doing? I'm Richard Glover. My apologies for my tardiness. I was having a little bit of technical difficulty. I'm an occupational therapist by trade. Bit of an instructor, educator, teacher in my church setting. Excited about being on the call with you gentlemen again. Some new faces, some familiar faces. Excited about getting into some good exchange, and always happy to see and hear Coach J Hart do his thing. So
there you go. There you have it. The mind of a man on this platform, on this podcast on tonight, man. Gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us, man. Like I said before to Adam when we came on, You guys could have been anywhere else doing something else with somebody else, man. But I'm just glad you guys took the time out to join us on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this to a couple of questions, man. I've been reading this book for our men's department and stuff at my church. Um, it's an eye opener. However, man, I want to ask a couple of questions that they did a survey on to us just to get the mind of a man on how you feel about these questions. Now, this survey was done back in 2005, but I'm for sure these questions are still valid today in this community, especially with everything that's going on in society. Um, I believe that we have changed our views since 2005. So, my first question is, why do men feel frustrated when trying to communicate to either women or their wives? And I'll let we'll go in this order. We'll go in this order. So as I see them on my screen, this is the order we're going to go in. Marcus is going to go first. Adam, you'll go next. Adam will be next. Then Brian, then Richard. I'm gonna let Richard go last, not because he's a vet, but because Richard have dissertations when he answers. So he has a thesis, a hypotenuse, he has a beginning, middle, and end. So we're gonna let him go last. Marcus, I know you do too. So I'm gonna let you go first and let you start it out, and then we're going to go ahead in that order: Adam, Brian, then Richard. So the question again, man, is why do men feel frustrated when communicating to their wives or women in general?
We're creatures of habit, right? So the things that we don't get to practice often men grow up being tough, being strong, and not really practicing the habits of communication and habits, especially emotions, right? The emotions, the life cycle of emotions, we don't get to practice very often. You only kind of have two things: you're mad or you're happy. There's no in between there. So we don't get a lot of opportunities to practice, especially with men growing up in single parent homes. So the absence of a father and even with a father, the absentness of a father who is also a good communicator is prevalent. Is we're raised to be tough, we're raised to be strong, but very rarely. Prime example, when a child asks you a question, and oftentimes you hear the phrase, do as I say, not as I do. And so what a child is seeking is clarification, because you told me not to do this, but I see you doing it. And instead of going through the life cycle of communication, I'm just told to just be quiet and shut up. And so you go through a life cycle of people not being effective communicators. We mimic the habits that we are surrounded by. And so it's powerful when a man can come to his son and daughter and openly communicate. Let a child ask questions, because that's their nature. Oftentimes we get frustrated, right? Stop asking all these questions. No, let them go through the life cycle of asking the questions and engage with that child, because they're not trying to annoy you. They're not trying to harm you. They're seeking clarification and validation within themselves. And we need to allow them to go through that cycle and engage and learn the world around them. And then you'll have better communicators. But men don't get that opportunity often.
Okay. I think one of the things that's frustrating is that we have different styles of communication. What I've learned is generally men, when we say something, we say exactly what's there. That's just, we said it and that's it. Whereas women and a lot of times our wives, with the husbands, their wives, or just men in general communicating with women, oftentimes women, there's more to more under the surface. You can't just take it on the surface. It runs deeper. And that's one of the things that I found that can be an issue and frustrate some men, because I've heard men saying, I've said to myself, well, why didn't you just say that? Why didn't you just come out and say that? You said, you said this, so I took you at what you said, when in reality, there was so much more to unpack. Whereas for men, it's more or less, we just put it out there and that's it. And I think one time I heard Dr. Lance Watson. He did I guess it was a sermon entitled "Men Are Like Waffle and Women Are Like Spaghetti." And so when we communicate, we compartmentalize. We only gonna talk about this one thing, and that's all we want to address is this one thing. So everything is in its own box. Whereas women generally, and these are generalities, don't get me wrong, but generally they're like spaghetti. Everything is all baked together. So if there's a bad day at work, it spills over home, and everything comes up in a conversation. And for us, it's hard to keep up because we just have a different style of communicating. One way is not better than the other. We're just different. And so again, we as men, we tend to just say what we feel, just that's it. Whereas for women, it frustrates men because there's so much more to what they said than what's on the surface.
My question is to everybody, and I want to add this to this. How has the communication of your older siblings or your father or your uncle or your granddad, how has the communication that they had growing up with you in the household and different things of that nature, how have that affected you and your communication as well? Brian, Richard, then I'm gonna come back up to Marcus and Adam to answer that second question.
Man, that's a dope question because we start learning how to communicate in the home, there in our family settings. So I'm glad you touched on that too because I was going to circle back around to that. I know you might not believe me, Coach Jay, but I was going to circle back around to that because that's where it starts. Um, I would say that I watched my grandfather run a system in our home. And his system was very simple. It was honesty, tell the truth, and it was a system that let us know that the man was in charge, and nobody really bucked that system. How it affected me growing up is I ran into some characters who haven't really had the opportunity to deal with a real man in the home. They had to worry about outside things coming into the home. As for me, I didn't have to worry about that because my grandfather showed me what a real man was. So let's go back to what the original question was. How was it? How has it affected me being able to communicate with women and relationships? So, what flusters me as a man is some of the things that I have to communicate can be sometimes embarrassing. And if it's already embarrassing, then um, to me, if I'm on fire, I need water, not gasoline. And that right there can fluster me um, when I'm trying to communicate. I'm trying to tell you, but um, I feel like don't just tell me that it's going to be all right and pat me on the shoulder either. But I came to you for help. And for God's sakes, don't bring it up to harm me later on as the conversation has already died. So I think that's what flusters me in trying to communicate with the lady.
Now, Richard, before you answer this question, there was a comment, and I'm not sure what part of the question or who she was referring to, but it says, if you know that's what women do, why not compromise? So my question to you, Richard, in answering this question about being frustrated in communication with women, why don't you think men compromise with women to try to meet them in the middle? Or do you think we do, and it's just not the way that they want it done?
I had to unmute my mic. I'm sorry. Um, let me answer the first part of your question, and then come back to that second part about compromise because that's a different creature altogether. But the communication part, I think um, Adam hit it on the head when he said it's not that we're right or wrong; we communicate differently. And I think men are put into those waffle compartments where we have to communicate with little or no emotion. The expectation is that men can subtract emotion, almost be stoic in what we communicate and how we communicate. And what Brian said was sometimes there are things that are uncomfortable, that we're embarrassed by. Those are emotions. So how do you describe embarrassment without bringing up emotion? Well, that's a hard thing to do. And something that Marcus touched on about having people that you've learned communication styles from, or seeing effective communication between a man and a woman, whether it be brothers and sisters, parents, grandparents, whoever. A lot of people don't have those templates out there, and that's not by any means an excuse. It's just that we learn a lot of times by what we see. And so the challenge of being an effective communicator with one hand tied behind your back is, I think, what's frustrating a lot. I use myself as an example. I have a very prominent voice. It can be when it's projected, it can be intimidating at times. If I'm impassioned about a thing, the emotion I'm trying to convey may be fear, it may be hurt, it may be excitement, it may be vulnerability, but with my voice, it all comes out like a hot furnace. So understanding how you communicate first sets you up better to communicate with others. So you got to know yourself, and you got to know how to manage yourself, and then understand who you're communicating with. Because we like to think of communication as a one-way street, but it's two directions. And so to the question about compromise, a lot of people mistake giving me my way for compromise, because compromise means coming to a middle ground. So if I'm trying to communicate something and you're trying to communicate it differently, we both have to come to something different than what we're comfortable with for it to be a true compromise. There has to be a yield on both sides. So saying, why don't you compromise, suggests that the man is inflexible in his communication. When in truth, what you're saying is, why don't you give up your stance and see it like I see it?
Like I see it.
And that's not compromise, that's yielding. Those are two different things. So if you're
that's
asking
a
for someone to
different
yield,
word.
right? But if you're asking for that, the way Adam said it, we communicate what we want verbally.
Yeah.
One more thing about communication, and then I'm gonna pass up on the dissertation. Verbal and nonverbal communication are things that we don't really talk about. And then again, it's a tie to that emotional component with men. We're not given the same space for nonverbal communication in a lot of aspects as women are. Use myself as an example. You can see it right now in the live. I'm a talker with my hands. So if I'm emphatic about a thing and my hands start moving, someone may misinterpret that as a threatening move. When actually, I'm just excited to tell you, hey, man, I just saved 15% on my insurance by switching to Geico. But it doesn't look like that, and it doesn't sound like that when I say it. So, those are pieces of communication that when we talk about communication, we say it's oldest thing and many of these, and we take out the nuance of communication. Communication is like a dance. And like Brian said, somebody's got to lead, but they can't lead by stepping on your feet. And somebody's got to follow, or you're dancing by yourself. So communication is a two-way street that involves each person stepping from their stance to a meeting point and then moving forward together if you really want to communicate.
So this is my question. Everybody unmute their mics. This is a question I want to throw out to everybody. Have you tried to compromise once before and it turned into yielding?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there a follow-up to that, or was that just
hold on. Somebody ain't answered yet, and I'm looking dead at him, and I ain't gonna say
Marcus
his name.
Is the one. I'm gonna name a name because it's on the screen. Marcus Norman Dash Gentleman Stop. He was over there mute.
I said yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Look at that, Marcus. They throwing you to the wolves, bro. Like, Marcus is the one that didn't say nothing.
We're just communicating. That's all. We're communicating.
Go. So, question. So the question says, how do we undo this bad communication?
Practice. Lots of practice. Practice We're creatures of habit. Whatever you practice, that is who you are. That's what you
A lots of yielding. A lots of yielding, Marcus. You said, oh, you said practice. My bad. Go ahead, practice.
not yielding.
Brian said yielding. Go ahead.
Yeah, you practice it. You practice communication. Anything you want to get good at, you have to practice it. None of us are experts day one. So I'm going to practice with my wife. I'm going to practice with my spouse. Effective communication. Now, the key that we all miss, that communication is a two-way thing. There's the active speaking part, but there's also the listening. And it takes two people to effectively communicate. Just like the good doctor said, Mr. Glover said, if I'm sitting here and I'm communicating with you, I'm sending you a wave of signals, but it takes an active listener to interpret it. And oftentimes we have the innate ability of listening to respond and not listening to comprehend. And so it takes two to communicate. Communication is a two. You ever played a telephone game? It takes two people, one on the end that's listening. You cannot speak at the same time through that telephone. It won't work. And so oftentimes what I do to practice a habit that's really good is when someone is talking to me and they're finished speaking, I give a pause, right? I don't just jump in and respond. I don't just, oh, yeah. No, I let them get their complete thought out and then I marinate on it because I'm listening and I want to absorb what you just said. And
But how's that come back to bite you, though?
No.
So the marinade never came back?
Because I'm listening.
But Marcus, let me ask you this question. So you've been sitting there listening and you don't say nothing. You ain't never had a female like, oh, you ain't got nothing to say? I didn't say it all that. You ain't got nothing at all. Just thank you, Brian. My man, Brian, up top.
But
up top, B.
What is it worth, right? So the powerful speakers, right? Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, these are powerful men, right? They knew the power of their words and they spoke only when it was necessary. And so speaking, what's it worth to me? If she's coming at me and it's going nowhere, she's just venting, why would I speak up? Why would I sit here? Because just like Mr. Glover said, I know the power of my voice. I know when I tell my children to sit down, despite all the moms nagging and throwing and upset temperament, when dad comes in the room and he speaks, they're going to sit down. And so knowing that and knowing the power of your words, you choose it wisely. And that's what the doctor mentioned earlier about yielding. What's it worth? I'm going to yield because it's not worth the fight. Not all wars are won today. But I may lose this battle, but I'll definitely win the war, especially if I'm the caretaker to my home. So what's it worth? What's the value of the conversation? And what's the point of it? Not everything warrants a response. Not everything warrants your attention.
Can I listened to Marcus completely and I paused for a second. Can I just offer an alternative view real quick? When we use language like winning the battle in the war, we miss the target of communication. It's not an adversarial thing. It's a unifying thing. I'm gonna take his same example and I'm gonna turn it on its head real quick. I got the same voice that I've had since adolescence, and I've got children. And I understand that there are times when I have to use this forceful, but because I understand the tool that I have, I know that there are times that I have to change my tone. I have to bring them close with nonverbal communication. I have to give my son a hug rather than give my son the belt. So, yeah, if I'm talking to my wife and she's upset, and to borrow Marcus's term, she's venting, I have to understand that she may want me to just listen, not fix, not debate, but just listen, but not to appear to be disconnected. So in those times, words of affirmation or phrases that reflect understanding, like, okay, so I heard you say, and repeat it back, so you make it clear to her that you were truly active listening and not just letting the clock wind down until the steam on the kettle stops. So, you know, I think the idea of communication, we've painted ourselves into a conflict corner without conflict resolution skills when we talk about communication. Because the why can't you compromise is instead of fighting, surrender. You know, that's really what the question poses. I'm not going to give in. Why don't you give in? But the same question can be turned on its head. If there's a difference in how we communicate, why am I expecting the other person to be the one to surrender? Why don't I surrender? So communication has to be, for it to be effective, it has to be something that both people can meet on a common ground with, can be on one accord with, so they can move together. I use the term one accord because I'm gonna put a little Bible on it, because at the day of Pentecost, the people were speaking different languages. It was when the Spirit came upon them that they spoke the same language and were on one accord.
Shana.
So if we don't seek to speak the same language or a common language that's not our native language, see, that's the unspoken truth about it. The Spirit made it so they could understand each other, but they were not necessarily speaking the other person's language. One person didn't say, I'm going to translate to speak Aramaic. It was a common language to both. And so sometimes communication means stepping aside from the war room and the battlefield and saying, look, let's just have dinner. Or look, let's just watch a movie together. And we can come back to this when cooler heads prevail, because right now we're butting heads. And it's not always, it's really not always an easy thing for a man to do, because we're hardwired to protect, attack. Aggression is hardwired into our existence. So communication, for men, a part of communication is overcoming that hard wiring so that we can effectively get the point across, you know?
Question. And you hit it, so I can ask this question. Wait, set up, Richard. Adam and Brian, how do you safely communicate your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, just venting? How do you safely communicate? How do you safely communicate to your wives, your girlfriends, your exes? How do you successfully communicate? That's successfully, because you can communicate very wrong, Marcus. You can be very wrong in your communication. So let me say safely communicate.
I think, and this is just me, by nature, I'm pretty laid back. I get criticized for that sometimes. I'm too laid back. But when I'm annoyed, I found I can communicate, but I kind of keep my cool. When I'm really angry about whatever may have made me angry, I don't talk until I've cooled off down. Because even when I'm venting, I don't want the person that I'm venting to be angry or afraid or scared or anything else. I know me. It took a long time to get to that point where I could know how to disconnect long enough to cool off and then come back. Because my youngest brother says that I'm like a Toyota or Lexus. I have a shut-off valve so that my timing belt doesn't pop and blow the whole engine. So I know how to just shut down so that I don't do something or say something that I can't take back. Or, so I've learned to disconnect until I can share what I need to share. And as I think I believe it was Brian who said earlier that when I'm on fire, don't pour gas on it. Just listen to me. Let me cool off, and then I can move on. And I don't have to vent often, but when I do, I just need you to listen. Let me say, and after I've said it, I'm fine. Usually, I just need to get it off. But I've learned that works for me personally, and I think Marcus kind of stole some of my thunder earlier when he said that we listen to respond as opposed to listening to understand, and that's a big problem I see between men and women in general. I'm gonna let you finish, and as soon as you finish, I got something for. I got you. I'm waiting on you to finish. So I can snap back, and in the end, we go back to being at war with each other. And I've seen something before that makes sense. It says you and me versus the problem, not you versus me.
Man,
and sometimes that's what we have turned our communication into a battle, where again we want to win. At the end of the day, I believe effective communication means we both get something and we both give up something. So if you want to compromise, it means that we both have to give. In politics and anything else, for it to work for both parties to come out well, somebody has to gain something, and we have to both kind of sacrifice a little bit. So
My.
that's what works for me.
Gain and lose all in the same conversation. Jesus. All right, Brian.
Scripture says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away my childish things.
Put away.
So um, now that I'm older, it's a little bit harder to trick me with the apple. Um, so um, when you become a man, there are some things that your eyes are open to. And when it comes to your spouse, you have to be anointed for your spouse. And the anointing that your touch, your look, not even your words, but just your presence can cool down a whole fire. And that's where we have missed it because we don't stay before God. The reason why she's hidden is because she's behind him and we have to go through him to get to her. But in order to go through him, you got to go to him and you got to understand him to understand her. So the scripture says, again, when I was a man, when I was a child, excuse me, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away my childish things. So don't let your buttons be pushed. Take your stance and stand. And be that man that God is proud that he released his daughter to.
My. This is Christ Connections and Conversations, Mind of a Man episode, man. We are here just talking about communications. But I'm gonna throw another log on this fire, and we're gonna spin this conversation to respect. So the question is, why do men need more respect from women? I'm gonna let the educators and professors go first. So we're gonna let Marcus go first, then Richard, and then we're gonna have Adam and Brian. So the question is still talking about communication, man. But why do you feel that men need more respect from women, especially with everything that's going on and the economic downfall, as you may call it, or spiral, as you may call it? Why do you feel that we need more respect, honor, love, and cherishment from our women?
Hmm. Um, I'm a Christian. I don't hold that back. I'm a Christian, so the hierarchy of a man leading his home, respect is. I feel respect is earned. And so, in order for my wife to trust me, I don't think men desire more respect. I think we give what we seek in our marriage, and we lead our home effectively with what the good doctor said, with love, protected, provider, nurturer, and the caretaker and the shepherd of our home. In order to respect the shepherd, the sheep have to trust you, and so I think respect is earned, but that's a double-edged sword. You have to earn it. No one is going to trust you, your wife, your kids, if you don't put in the work. You have to put in the work. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, sometimes men make the mistake. They kick in the front door and they're like, "Where's my meal? Respect me. I'm the man of this house." Well, that's not the case. What have you done as the man? What are the things that you have done to lead your home effectively? Have you poured into your wife? Have you poured into your kids the way God has poured into you? That's how it goes. It's not this outright thing that is just innately earned out of just the title of manhood. You have to earn it, and you have to show it every single day. And so the family will give you as much respect because as the leader of my home, if I run into my house right now and I say, honey, grab the kids, we have to leave, right? And what I don't need at that precise moment is 10 million questions. I said, grab the kids, let's go. And a woman who honors her husband, loves her husband, and has earned the right to lead his home, she'll just do it without hesitation, without concern, because she knows who leads his life, and she knows his heart, and she knows that he's not going to lead his family astray. And so that's a right, that's a privilege that is earned. Respect is earned. It's not given automatically. Right. Sure. She's gonna ask questions.
A whole bunch of questions. A whole bunch of questions in the car. Now, why you made me get up here and do all this stuff right now? You ain't gonna tell me what you could have called first and told me what was going on. Shoot. Could have put my lashes on and my good wig. Got me out here looking like Florida Evans. Shoot. Go ahead, Richard.
Hey, I'm gonna I guess I'm gonna play contrarian with this respect thing. The original question was, why do men need more respect? I can speak only for myself. Um, in the time as a Black man, in the times that we live in, we are experiencing an overwhelming societal disrespect. I think with the whole biblical basis of the man having the woman as his helpmeet, the expectation is that you get the respect from your spouse as a given. But I'm going to take a departure with the idea that respect is earned, and I'm going to go with respect is learned. Because there are cases where a man is fulfilling his role as shepherd and sheep go astray. Because the words say, like sheep, we've all gone astray, which suggests that sheep have a propensity to go astray. And when they go astray, they depend upon the shepherd to pull them from peril. So it's not just that the sheep follow the shepherd like sheep. That's the term we use now, like sheep. But the parables about sheep talk about their dependency on the shepherd and their propensity to go awry if the shepherd is not continually on the job, defending, feeding, protecting. So the idea of shepherd speaks more to the role of the man. And if we're using that as the scenario, sheep are dumb animals. So be careful when you say that I'm the shepherd and she's the sheep, because a sheep's not a flattering animal to be. And yeah, I'm not saying that women go astray. I'm borrowing the shepherd and sheep analogy. But let's be clear, when we're talking about respect, I said respect is learned because I may be a stand-up guy. I may be worthy of respect. But my spouse, my wife, my significant other may have never experienced that. She may not have learned that in the past. So she may not be at a place where she's communicating the respect to me. Even though she feels it, she may not be giving it because she hasn't had practice with it. So the same way we talked about men with the practicing in communication, in these single parent homes that somebody pointed out before, there's no deference to the head of household in those homes because the woman is the head of household. So what do you do if you're in a situation where someone has been raised in that home, where their mother is the breadwinner, their mother's the provider, and the father's not existent, and then they are coupled with someone who now is the breadwinner, the provider? They don't have a template for how to respond to that. So I'm not going to put the fact that men aren't respected on the men for not doing what they're supposed to do. Because to be fair, there are plenty of men who do what they're supposed to do. And then some who still say, can I get some respect? Or put some respect on my name. Because Aretha Franklin got the song for women to be respected. Yeah, great. But there's no anthem for men to demand respect or command respect. And again, that's a communication thing. All of this ties back to communication. Because if you're in a situation where you don't feel respected, there's a right way and a wrong way to convey that. Some people try to brute force demand respect and end up getting a boomerang effect. They get withdrawal. But true respect comes from this idea that you said, Marcus, about I'm going to run in the house and tell him, get your stuff and let's run. Well, see, the woman ultimately respects the man and never be in that situation. If he's truly shepherding, to run in the house and say, come on, we got to go. We got to abandon the security that I've depended upon you to create. That's not the paradigm that most people operate by. That may be a rarity, but that's not the norm. The norm is when I come home every day, I come home every day and I stay home every night. And I get up and go to work every morning. And I bring paychecks home every other week or every week or whenever I get paid. That's the norm that leads to a respect relationship that is learned, not just earned. It's a pattern of behavior that you've learned to trust in the same way that a sheep trusted the shepherd is protecting and leading and guiding them because they've seen the shepherd defend them. They've seen the shepherd feed them. Psalm 23, David puts himself in the role of the sheep and speaks about the Lord, and he describes what he's learned of the shepherd. He leadeth me, he maketh me to lie down, he restoreth. Thou art with me, his presence. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup. All the things that he's talking about are things that he's learned from the shepherd. Now, that doesn't mean that God isn't worthy, but what David is saying is, I know it because I done seen him do it. So that respect is learned in the same way that we teach our children to respect us by what they learn. We call it earning, but I think it's more learning than earning because learning is a process of transferring information. You know, if I know that I'm a provider, you don't know that I'm a provider until you learn that I'm a provider. You can see me go to work, you can see my paycheck stuff, but until you see me providing with the paycheck, you haven't truly learned that. So I earn the money, but you learn to respect my role as provider with regard to that. That's all I wanted to say on that.
You can get that same thing from a gang. There's a hierarchy in gangs. You learn respect in gangs, right? So to say that it's learned is a dangerous thing because you can join a gang and learn the hierarchy of the gang and say, hey, that's the head of the Bloods, that's the head of the Crips. You gotta respect that man. So he's now the shepherd, but you don't.
But see, in a gang, how do you get that? Because you could easily say he earned that position by filling out whatever hit he was supposed to do, or making sure he doesn't cover this block, or I mean, you could use the terms interchangeably. But what I'm saying is, learning is a more collaborative process than earning. Earning makes it seem like I have to do it for you. Learning means we have to do it together. That's all I'm saying. I'm going away from dominant follower to collaborative, just like with communication. If I come in and tell you what I want and walk out of the room, I'm not communicating. But a lot of people think I got my point across because I came in and told you what you wanted. Now, whether you respond or whether I listen, it's all collaborative. That's what I'm getting at. I'm moving away from the traditional thinking because I'm going to put the book on it again. When Christ came, he talked about the kingdoms of the world and how they ruled, how they dominated. And he said, no, but that's not how our kingdom operates. Because who is first shall become last, who's last shall become first. I came to you as a servant so that you may go to others as servants. That's a topsy-turvy way of thinking, but it's a learning. It's not an earning. But again, that's my take.
Yes, he did.
We had someone else in the comments that said the same thing. They said they don't understand the part of earning respect either.
He earned
and
it.
These are females. These are females. There we go. Miss T. Brown. I don't agree that respect is earned.
You earn it by what Jesus washed his servants' feet. He earned that respect. He showed you. He performed miracles to follow him. He didn't just walk up in there, kick the door in, and say, "Hey, let me start a class about respect and why you should learn." He educated. Okay. He taught.
Let's pause for a second. Let's break up some theological misconceptions there. You said he performed miracles to earn the respect. No, he performed miracles so that men might believe in God. If you look at Lazarus, right, when he was in the tomb, he said, "This is being done so that people will believe on the Father." because they sent for Jesus and he waited because they said, if you had come, he wouldn't have died. And he didn't say, I'm doing this so you can see how great I am. It wasn't about respecting him. It was about learning of the Father. It was a learned thing. It wasn't an earned thing.
It was through his actions. He did something for you to believe in him. You wouldn't follow me if I didn't prove to you that I could take care of you. You would
Okay.
not follow me if I didn't prove to you that I earned.
So when Jesus appeared before the disciples, before he ascended, but after the cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thomas said, I will not believe unless I see the wounds in your hand and the wound in your side, right? He didn't say, Thomas, you're right. I'm going to show you what I did. He said, blessed are they who believe without having to see it. So it wasn't about what he earned. It was about what they learned because he taught them. He taught them more than he did. When he went before Pilate, Pilate was interested in seeing the miracles because it was a very exciting thing for people to see the miracles he performed. He didn't perform miracles for them because it wasn't about him doing what he was doing for him. It was about people learning of his Father. It was never about them earning anything because the whole tenet of our faith is not based on earning through works. It's based on faith by belief. And so we learn faith based on experiences that we've had and seen. But it's not about earning it because no man can earn it. Right?
I think you would have a
Good
hard
point.
time convincing someone to follow you with no fruits of your labor.
No.
Now,
I didn't say no
wait.
fruits of
Hold
your
on,
labor.
Richard. Hold
That's
on.
different. That's different altogether. Now you're
Now,
talking about something different. Fruits of your labor is different than you gotta earn my respect. Those are two different things altogether.
You gotta show it to me. You
wait.
All right.
Now, with what Marcus just said, I'm going to ask Adam and Brian. Earning, learning, respect from women, and communication. How are all those put together?
Well, I would say first and foremost, um, I was always really taught that even a dog deserves a little bit of respect. So that's first and foremost. Everybody deserves respect just on the surface. That's first. That's my point, my take. But I also believe that if I have to come in and I have to demand respect and I have to, say kick in the door, whatever the case, then to me, that's not really respect. That's fear. If I have to threaten you to respect me, I shouldn't have to do that. If I'm living the life and doing what I'm supposed to do, first and foremost, you will respect as a human being. And then as trust grows, then I think the respect is increased, if you will, and the trust is increased all the more. But I also believe I have to communicate effectively, which means, and we talked a few minutes ago about knowing someone else's language that they communicate in, and you talked about the day of Pentecost and so forth. I believe that if you're going to be in a healthy relationship, you have to be bilingual. You have to be able to speak your language and understand somebody else's. That's the only way it's going to work. But I've shared with women when I've done premarital counseling for couples that I've done their weddings and so forth. I've said this to women, and I've shared this with other women in general. If you can't respect that man or you don't respect that man, don't marry that man, because that means you all are not meant to be. If you don't think this is somebody you can trust and somebody you can respect, then don't do it. And if you don't think he's worthy of your respect, then he's not worthy of your hand in marriage. If he's shown you that he can be a provider and he can be, and not only monetarily, but also spiritually, he can be a lead and so forth, then don't do it. But if you sign up for marriage or to be in a relationship with this person, that means that you respect them. And I have a book that I read some time ago. I can't remember the author, but it says what women want and what men need. Women want love and men need respect. We thrive on those things. Yes. And they can, in some cases, be interchangeable. But at the end of the day, that man wants to know that that woman and his children respect him, not because he is domineering, but because they genuinely love him and they trust him wholeheartedly. So I do believe it is earned. I mean, learned rather. Person, I believe it's learned. I believe, and as was said earlier, when you grow up seeing it, then you understand what it's supposed to look like. Um, I grew up, seeing my parents and how they interacted, and so that let me know how I needed to be as a man with my children and so forth. So I do believe it's learned. As I can agree that it's learned, but at the same time, I believe everybody's owed respect until they do something to lose that respect.
It's mind blowing that um, the wall between men and women have come to this, to where we would even have to have this conversation about respect, especially when we're talking about two people who say that they love one another. It's mind blowing, but it's necessary. But what comes to mind is, as men, we are um, Christ like creatures. And when I say Christ like creatures, we, if you think about Christ, he loved to be praised. Um, if I was to walk up to um, my significant other and just start clapping, she would look at me crazy. But if I walked up to her and I said, I adore you, I love you, you look beautiful, she would know exactly where I was coming from and what I meant. And what I'm saying is that um, if men like to be praised, women like to be praised, then there should be some common ground of that feeling that is wanted by both parties. And you think about Adam and Eve. I see a little bit of flexing of what men and women do as we're discussing this. Think about Adam and Eve. Adam, he had the job, he had the home, and God said it's not good for man to be alone. Of course, we know the story. He put him to sleep, and then there comes Eve. So I'm asking this: when I think about dating someone and the characteristics of how they respect me, see, Adam got a solution to a problem he didn't even know he had, and so I guess the simple question is: are you a solution or are you a problem? And when we talk about solutions, respect comes along with it. Whether it's earned or whether it's learned, it's a package deal. And I think we really need to pay attention at where we are in society as today, as to where we even have to have this conversation. Because we talked about yielding earlier. I feel like that if you are yielding to somebody who don't respect you, then you don't respect yourself. So that's not a person problem. That's a you problem.
Let me jump in real quick, Brian. Let me jump in real
Yes.
quick. Let me jump in real quick. Let me read the question that's on the screen, and then let's take a stab at this question, because this is on the heels of what Marcus was talking about, what I was talking about. The question reads, but doesn't a certain level of action have to go forward first before a level of respect can be given? Not just surface level respect, but respect as the head of the household. Um, of course, I'm gonna jump in since I just read it. I'm gonna jump in. But here's my point. By the time you get the head of household, you've demonstrated a whole lot. This is have to go forward first, right? So how long is that first before you're deemed head of household? Adam was saying that when he was doing premarital counseling, he talks to a person about whether or not they're able to respect this man in the headship. But you don't go to premarital counseling on your third date. So again, we may be playing semantics with the earning versus the learning, but we got to break away from this. Man has been given a position. Somebody just mentioned Adam in the garden, right? What did Adam do to earn Eve's hand in marriage? What did Adam do to earn Eve's respect? He did nothing, because God gave Adam life. God gave Adam the garden. God gave Adam the job. And then God gave Adam the Eve. God gave Adam the only commandment that existed for man. And what did Adam do with that one commandment? He broke it.
He broke it.
He broke it. So if we're using the criteria of earning respect, Eve shouldn't have wanted to bear children with the man who broke the one commandment that God got, because she was talking to the serpent and he was standing in the cut. That wasn't his leadership. That wasn't him earning respect. God told the man, if you eat of that fruit of that tree, the day you do it, surely you'll die. He never told the woman, but he told the man. It was the man who told the woman what God said, right? When Eve ate the fruit, nothing happened to Eve, because the command was given to Adam. When Adam ate the fruit, what happened? They saw their nakedness. They became afraid. They started to sew together leaves. They hid from the very God who created them and who Adam had once walked in the garden with in the cool of the day. So I get what you're saying about men and earning it. But if you're going to use Adam as the template, if you're going to use his role as the template, that's the absolute worst template to use. Now, the flip side of the coin, the book of Hosea is about a prophet, a man of God, who was commanded to marry a harlot. He was a man of God, right? God communed with him so that he could communicate to the people. He had to go purchase his wife out of harlotry on more than one occasion. That's in the Bible. So what did he do to earn her respect? Why didn't she just respect him? He was a prophet. He was talking with God.
He freed her.
And she went back. Was that showing respect?
I want to do something while we getting ready to wrap up.
Right.
Marcus, can you see the comments?
He mained the garden, which is respectful in its own right.
Oh, no, not that one. Can you see what T. Brown said about being in law enforcement?
You might have to put that one back up there. I don't think.
Okay, there you go. Okay. I want you to comment on this one.
I work with law enforcement laws. They have told me respect is earned. I challenge that concept. Respect everyone at equal levels. No one had to earn Jesus's respect. He treated everyone the same. So, oh my God, if I do not do anything, you will not follow me. If I don't do anything, law enforcement has been given an authority. They take an oath to protect and serve. We lost faith in the police system when George Floyd died and Trayvon Martin died. And we've been fighting this battle because we lost that respect, that trust in an authority that was given to them. Your husband is given an authority to lead your home, but you have to know who leads him and you have to trust in him. That requires action. That requires doing something to earn it. You cannot. I don't expect any woman to follow me, to let me lead our home, if I don't prove that I can be an effective leader and provider and lover and communicator to my home. If I can't provide anything, would you follow me? You said he treated everyone equally. Yes, he did. That's just leadership, right? The law of the lit. He was an effective leader, but he served and he earned every drop of respect. That's why people left. That's why kings followed him. I'm not going to give up my palace, my worldly possessions, if you hadn't earned that. That's not a learned behavior. I was living in the palaces. I was living comfortably. What did you do to make me leave all my worldly possessions behind? That is earned all day long. You cannot tell me that's a learned behavior.
I get it.
Can,
I get
can I
it.
ask one question? What did we do for Jesus to leave the heavenly host, put on a mortal frame, and come to earth and give his life as a ransom for us? What did we do for that? What did we demonstrate to him that said we were worth it?
We're his creation.
No, no, no. Everybody is his creation. The angels were his creation. Everything was his creation, right? Because in the beginning was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So everything is his creation.
Would you
But what
trade
did
the
we
word
do?
for your
Because
kids?
what David says, what is man that you are mindful of him? What are we that you would even in heaven think of us? You have put us a little lower than the
Lord and
angels.
the angels.
What have we
Get it.
done to deserve that? How did we earn it? We didn't earn it. And he left more wealth and riches than anyone on earth could imagine. In fact, he was tempted with all the riches of the world to do what? To bow down to someone other than God. It's a faith
Ooh,
thing.
child.
But I get where our point of contention is about demonstrating our works, but faith without works is dead. But the works themselves don't engender the faith. The works themselves don't engender the trust. Because there's plenty of women who have aligned themselves with men who provide things in an unsavory or immoral way. So there's something to be said for being more than just somebody who demonstrates these things. Because I can show you, I can tell you anything. I can get out there and fake and hustle. But there's more to communication and there's more to respect than just work. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying that
So
work isn't a component, but I'm saying work is not the primary component.
so I'm gonna let Marcus comment, and then I'm gonna go to Adam, and I want him to comment on what Apostle Brumby said in another post. So Marcus, go ahead, and then Adam, you're up next. I'll have Ebony bring up that comment so you can see it, and then yep, that's the comment I want you to remark on, Adam, if you can see it.
So,
All right, Marcus, go ahead.
bring up
I
mine
feel
again.
it.
Bring up mine again, please.
Oh,
Am I
your
recording?
comment,
Yeah, my comment, please.
Adam. You got yours. You good?
We
Okay,
can't.
cool.
Okay.
Can we bring up that last comment from Miss T Brown?
I thought it was interactions can change the level of respect. This one?
No.
It's
The
another.
one where she said she worked with law enforcement.
Oh, I already answered that though.
No, I'm just giving you a second to answer what that one
What
what
Mr. Glover said?
yeah what Mr. Glover said.
Um,
If you had something
no,
to
I didn't
say.
have anything.
Okay.
I am compromising with my brother.
You know what? You in this. All right, Adam, go ahead.
I agree with what Brumby said. That we learn one another, and but I believe we come in. I believe at least we should come in with a healthy respect for each other. And as we learn one another, again, you can that respect can be amplified or can be diminished. It depends on what you learn about each other as you grow. And going back to what we talked about really at the beginning, with uh, communication and respect, I think all these things are tied together. Um, you have to, as we said earlier, you have to practice these things. You teach people how to respect you, what respect looks like to you, I believe, and that goes for men and women. I don't think, I mean, what would seem to show me respect may not show the rest of you gentlemen respect. What may look like respect to you may not look like it to me. So it's all about learning that individual. And I don't think it's right to try to apply a cookie cutter mandate to this when we are all different people. Every man is different, every woman is different. And again, you come in with a healthy level of respect. And as you learn that person, as you grow together, then that respect can grow, or you can see that, you know what, this isn't the person for me. And even if we're not the person for me, it doesn't mean I lose respect for you as an individual. It just means you're not the one that I can be with.
I love the fact of your answer, man, and I love Marcus grin as you was talking because I can see the words and stuff just running across his forehead, and like that's all I was saying. I just said it totally different from what. But that I get it, Marcus. Trust me, I got it. It's written right here, and I can see it. I got it. But I'm gonna go to Brian, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, man. We're gonna call it a show. So Brian, hey E, can you bring up that last question you just asked? And I want Brian to answer this question as we wrap everything up.
Glad I didn't get that one.
Oh, y'all gonna get it. Everybody gonna touch on it for a hot second before we go. We're gonna let Glover go last because I know he probably got a whole chapter, verse, book on it on his own, and then I'm gonna close it out as all of us touch on this subject for a brief second. Richard, we're gonna answer this question for a brief second. So did everybody see the question? The question, that's the question right there. She just popped it back up for us.
So, what do women need to do that will translate into respect for men? Oh, I feel like I'm against the ropes on this one. Um, Everybody is different. Um, Men are different, just as women is different, and you're not going to do the same thing for every man because we're different. So when we talk about translating, that's kind of dangerous because my translation is different from the other translations from men. And I think everybody on the show can agree to that. Um, I would say be very prayerful and attentive to who you're dating and who you're seeing. That will help you to translate a lot. Um, and if I'm talking all the time, it's hard for me to learn if I'm doing all the talking and never listening. If I go into a situation knowing it all, then it's hard for me to learn and be a student of that person, and I won't be able to gain anything out of that. So that can translate into a brick wall when you're dealing with myself. I can't speak for the other men. Can translate into a brick wall, and I would just say be very prayerful uh, and be very. I see you, Ebony. You know,
Hey, B, I didn't want you to think that we was laughing at what you was saying, but she funny because she controlling the comments. So of
yeah,
course she was gonna throw that one up there. Yes,
yeah,
we be listening in our
yeah,
own way.
definitely,
That's why
and
we
like
all gonna touch on that question, E.
right, right, and sometimes our listening is y'all might not y'all might not like our response to listening, but we're listening. You might write a book and we might text back, okay, that don't mean we're not listening. We're listening. Um, but at the end of the day, be very prayerful with your partner and pay attention and try to learn as much as you can. And I'm gonna back up off this real quick for Ebony throw something else up in here.
She already did. Go ahead, Adam. Don't mind that question right there. The question remains that what we were gonna be at because we trying to wrap this up, and she just throwing out these questions. So I'm gonna have her to throw that question back up again, not the one you just did. So what actions do women need to do that will translate into respect for women? I mean, for men.
Mhm. Again,
Adam, then Marcus, then Richard.
I think it's already been said that everybody's different. Every man is different, has their own idea of respect. But I would say one thing that I think is a general rule in a sense is just let him know he's needed. Not so much that you need him to survive, because you can make your own money, that's fine, but just that you need him emotionally. That's something that I think most men need, is to feel needed, to feel desired also. And in a lot of ways, a lot of the things that women want, men want too, just in different ways. Uh, So I think for women, the actions and so forth is just being sure he knows that you need him. And again, not that you depend on him, not that not that's not slavery. That you can live without him, yes, but you don't want to live without him. That you want him in your life, that he is important to you, and so forth. That's something that I think all men desire in some way, shape, or form. There are other things that again are up to that individual man. But as we said, if you pay attention to him, you'll see it. Sometimes he doesn't even have to say it, but it's again that nonverbal communication will paint the picture for you.
What actions do women need to do that will translate in respect for men? Um, just like the brother said, take it up in prayer, but communication is key. Stop doing. I talked on this earlier. Stop doing the subliminal. Stop having the expectations that he should know, or he should know how to do this, or he knows that he needs to do this. No, he doesn't. Communicate often, communicate regularly, and communicate with your partner effectively. And that includes listening. Listen to your partner. Don't just communicate to communicate. And you'll learn how to love them. And you'll learn what translates to respect with him, but also within the confines of your own marriage, and how you both communicate to each other. And because just like the gentleman said, communication looks different for everyone. We're two different beings becoming one. And so, but it starts at the core with communication and learning how to effectively communicate within your homes and within your family, and also communicating and keeping God at the core of everything you do.
Richard?
I was letting that pause happen.
I can't stand you.
Woo!
You know, Adam said something about how we communicate. Well, everybody mentioned communication, but I like the way Adam posed it. I'm not playing favorites, but I really did. And this is why I went with the idea of respect being learned, because if you're talking about respect for an individual man in your life, you need to learn, or it's best to learn how he views respect. You know, something as simple as, hey, I thought enough of you to pick up something from the store that you like without you asking may communicate that he's special to you, that you're on his mind. And, you know, we were talking about, an Anita Baker song always comes to my mind when people talk about love. An angel, and well, you don't have to thumbs down me, man. I know. But there's a line in the song that says, just let me know that I'm special to you. And if you let someone know that they're special to you, that goes a long way in communicating that they're valued in your life. And somebody posted the question, is it better to be wanted or needed? Well, both. Because if someone is just wanted, the idea means that the wants can change. That can be a temporal thing. I want you today, but not tomorrow. If someone's needed, that can be a thing that's desperation, where if my circumstance changes, I don't need you anymore. I need what you provide. But if the idea is that you're special to me, what it really says is that other
Jesus.
people can provide what you provide. Other people can do what you do, but you are special to me. So just let me know that I'm special to you. And if you do that, and however you communicate it, whatever the love language is, whatever that person works through, if you can communicate to the person that they're special to you, then the respect stock goes through the roof, because they're unique. And what you value in them is unique. It's the uniqueness. That's what we're wired by, you know? And like somebody said, man being in the temple of God, the first commandment, God explains, I'm a jealous God. You shouldn't be wanting no other gods other than me. So there's a part of us that says, you know what? I'm a jealous man. You shouldn't be wanting any men other than me. Now, it's unrealistic because the world is full of men and there's only one God in the universe. But it's hardwired in us to want to be special. So
True.
if you want to know what actions you should take, anything that makes that man feel special to you is going to engender respect for him, especially the things that are unprovoked, the just because things. Not an anniversary, not a birthday, but a just because thing. If you can do a just because thing and catch him off guard feeling love, man, that's where the respect grows.
Man, I was gonna let that question be the last thing we say yes or no to. It says, is it better to be wanted or needed? Marcus, wanted or needed?
No, he touched it pretty well. You can have both. It's not what it's better is because, like you said, wanted and needed. They have time limits on them. It's there's a time limit. If you just want me for the moment, you can want me to fix your car, and then tomorrow you disown me. So it has its place. It has its timing. But Mr. Glover's touched on it, the uniqueness, learning your spouse and learning your partner, and then just because things, right? Doing something outside of the norm. If the only time you celebrate your husband or your man is on an anniversary or a birthday, you're messing up poorly.
Yeah. Wow.
You're sorely missing the mark on celebrating your spouse, especially if he is effectively leading your home and providing.
Wow. Adam, wanted, needed.
I don't think it's either or. It's both and. That's just it. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Hey man, that last comment. Can you read that for me, Adam?
So, Katrina Stone. Yes, I had this conversation recently. Show me I'm special. Be personally invested. Yeah, and I believe. I mean, women want that. They want to know that they're special all the time, and they should. They should know that. But like just the way you want it, you just know your man wants it too. Again,
That's
not with,
all I
not with the
want.
roses, but just do something that you know that I love. If I'm with you, I'm gonna do something you like. If it's picking up your favorite drink or your dessert or whatever, something that I know makes you feel special, that you're important to me. I mean that yeah, that you're important to me. I want you to give me that same effort, whatever that looks like.
Good man. I am happy, man, that we have survived this show. Once again, this is Christ Connections and Conversations, C3. This is Mind of a Man. This has been a great show, man. I appreciate you guys. I'm not sure what happened to Brian. He probably had some technical difficulties with his cricket phone, but I am glad that that everybody is well. Everybody that enjoyed the show, man. Thank you. Share this broadcast, man. Share everything that we have done, man. Wait, hold on. There's another one.
I don't
If
know
y'all
about
want us to be independent and not need y'all for it,
no, I don't
Can
know.
I
it's
can I
it's
can I
not that
respond to
we're
that real quick?
saying.
Can I please respond to that real quick? Can I please respond to that real quick?
Oh,
Please, can I just respond to that real quick?
go ahead.
That is a great myth that creates this big split between men and women. Being independent has nothing to do with wanting and needing somebody. We don't want to be codependent. We want to be interdependent. So you have your own mind to choose to love me. You have your own resources to express your love to me. It, the two are not in opposite ends. You can be an independent person and independently choose to love me to the fullest. Or you can be an independent person and independently choose to walk out the door in the other direction every day I walk out the door for work. It's not, it's that's a that's a great gap in our communication between men and women. And I don't think men are perpetuating the independent woman theme. I think that's more perpetuated and driven by women.
That's Beyonce now.
Well,
Nah, that's
but
SBSI.
even Beyonce, who
You're the
sang the
woman.
song, married Jay-Z,
Right.
so she didn't
Right.
spend her life being an independent woman. She also sang "Cater to You." The same Beyonce. The same
Wow.
Beyonce saying, "Let me upgrade you." The same Beyonce. So
Same
the
way.
so the two don't have to be separated. That's
Richard,
all I'm saying. The two don't have to be separated.
Richard, if you
Yes,
ain't preached today, you just preached right there. She sung three songs,
yeah,
three different songs. Marcus, she sang the song. Marcus,
same
she
woman.
sang all three. Adam, did she not sing all three songs?
All of them.
All of them, and they all mean something totally different
All of them.
by the same woman.
Yep. And again,
We
she's
ain't saying we want
man,
Beyonce.
but she's building an empire with her man now, or has built
There you
one.
go.
So, and
There
they're
you go.
interdependent on one another. Both successful in their own right, but they're better together. And so I don't think the whole independent thing, again, that is not what men want at all. I don't know where that came from, but at least most of the men I know, that's not what they're looking for. We don't want to be
Marcus,
independent, and we don't want them to be independent. We want to depend on one another.
Marcus.
um, yeah, we don't. I think I'm meeting more and more men that are remaining single and remaining bachelors, and it's a dangerous concept and it's a dangerous mindset, and the paradigm needs to shift because we are choosing to not marry. Less and less of us are marrying, and so that paradigm needs to shift. That mindset needs to shift so we can get back to what's important, which is loving each other and sticking together. Because just like you said, Beyonce and Jay-Z are building a legacy, so we're better together. It's not good for us to be alone.
We
Doesn't
thank
mean
Brian for. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we can't do it on our own. We're just better together. We're stronger together.
Amen. Brian, I'm gonna let you say your last piece. I'm glad that your Cricket wireless connected back to the show, and you can close out the show with us. Do you want an independent woman? Do you want an independent woman, or you want a woman that you can build, grow, and grow old with?
Man, good question. Independence is key, um, but I don't want to be replaced. My role is my role, and I definitely don't want to be replaced. I want my opportunity to do what it is that I'm independent in doing, and then a part of my independence is making you happy. If I'm replaced with that, then I have no relevance, and then I find myself being relevant in the wrong places, and then that's where we have issues at. And I just want to just have my role, and she have a role as well. So, partnership. I mean, and I think another thing that we need to look at too um, is do we want a partner or do we want somebody that will accompany to what we already have? Partner would mean that this person would build with us. Um, the company part of it will be you just come to fit into what I already have. So once we distinguish that, then we'll know what road we're on. But yeah, that's my piece. I enjoyed the show, and these brothers are on it. Thank you all for having me, and thank you, Miss Ebony and Elder Kim, for being uplifting to the men. Coach Jay, you are amazing, brother, and thank you for pushing me to be better. Uh, and I'm gonna grow up and get another phone service other than Cricket one day. And so when that time comes, please call upon me again, and my stuff won't be going out.
Marcus, your closing words, then Adam, then Richard, and then we're going to wrap this show up.
Let's get back to the love. Let's get back to loving each other. Never forget what's important, right? Your job, COVID-19 showed us what was really important in our lives, and it forced a lot of people to come face to face with the hard truth that we forgot what was important in our lives. Family, people lost loved ones, people lost kids, people lost grandparents. So we need to come back together, and I hope we can turn things around and get back to what's truly important, which is our brothers and sisters in Christ.
I just want to say thank you to, again, Coach E and to Elder Kim and to Coach Day and to all of you gentlemen. I've enjoyed the dialogue and discussion and learning from you all and hearing different perspectives. And I believe I'm better for it. And I believe this has been a great time. So as I said, I pray that as men, we will continue to grow in our communication skills. And I believe that if we learn to communicate better, the respect and everything else will grow as well. But I do, again, thank you for this time, and I've enjoyed it.